The creators of this podcast documentary series would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which this project was made. This program may contain names, images, or voices of deceased persons.
I come from that ironwood tree in Tulora. Seed. My forefathers. There's been no broken line. We have sites there that go back 60,000 years of continuous history. 10,000 years ago, there was an ice age. People weren't living in parts of the world. Now people were still living there. Some places have been underwater for 20,000 years. And then they find a bit of evidence in archaeology. These people live here. Why they say we're the longest living culture in the world? It's because there's no places on this planet that can say they've lived in this place for 60,000 years, unbroken.
As an artist, I want to tell stories about nature, in nature and for nature. But I have realized that being behind the camera isn't enough. I want to get my hands dirty. That's how this podcast documentary series came to life. We're not only learning from our mentors. Together, we're also committing to an action that gives back to Earth. Or how I like to say, a la pacha. My name is Mauri, and this is Environment Art Stories. The way I want to start this episode is by telling how I met Nash, and it was in a festival maybe 2 years ago up in the northeast coast of Australia, Queensland, and we met there, and he mentioned that he was an artist, an Indigenous artist, and he invited me to go check Split Rock, which is on the way to Laura when you get into the Cape. And he mentioned that was probably one of the only Aboriginal art rocks open to the public without the necessity of having a guide to take you there. And we actually went there, and it was a really, really powerful moment. And he also mentioned about Laura Festival, which is an Indigenous dance festival, a celebration, a gathering that happens in Laura. And by that time, it was already over, so I didn't have the chance to go that time. But then after 2 years of that moment, we decided to come back to Laura and have the opportunity to witness that celebration, that gathering, that incredible and powerful, magic way of sharing culture. And I found Nash again, and right now he's sitting next to us. We're recording this episode, and I feel that it's really important for us, the production crew, to have a First Nations representative in this podcast season. And we always start each episode doing an acknowledgement of country. But I guess my first question to Nash will be, what's an acknowledgement of country and why is it important?
Yeah, thank you, Brother Murray. It's awesome to be here. And before I even start, that's what I like to do, an acknowledgement. It's different to a welcome because this country isn't mine. So the way I acknowledge this place would be the same way as you would acknowledge it. Acknowledgement, welcome is two different things. When you was in Laura, I welcome you because you're in my country. But here, this is Bulwai, which is a country, and they spoke a different language. They spoke Yirama language. So I'd like to acknowledge the Bulwai people here and the Kuku people. Kuku is a clan estate of a bigger area of the Yalandji people, and they're connected to my people from Laura. But my grandmother was a Kuku Yalandji person too, so when I'm here, I'm home as well. Yeah. So one of the things that I do when I talk about an acknowledgement, and when I travel through country, I always come to this rivers like this. Pick up a rock, white rock preferably, put a sweat on there, throw it in the river. Tell them I'm home or I'm traveling through and where my country is, and acknowledging this place. The river is the river. When the rock hits the river, it's telling the old rainbow serpent, grandfather spirit, where you're from, and he will then allow you to drink from that water. He will allow you to catch food from that water, cook with that water, keep warm in that, wash yourself, cleanse yourself. So acknowledgement has a lot to do with practice as well, as a person, or as a Aboriginal person or non-Aboriginal person. The way that you acknowledge is through your sweat, and in places like this, a river. And if you know the name of the place, you say, I would like to acknowledge you in this country, and my presence here. We say Nagu Puri, my country. Nagu, my name is Snider, Nagu Puri, Snider, Bubu Kuku Yalandji. You say Yalada, thank you. Bubu means country. So if you speak a different language, you might say it in your own language. The old spirit will know where you come from the sweat of the rock that you show in the river. You can do that through every part of this country, no matter where you go. And that's an acknowledgement to me to that land. And also in that process, you're acknowledging where you've come from to that place. So sometimes we're not in our own land, we might be overseas. Yeah. So acknowledgement to me is about telling them old people that you're here. It's speaking to the ancestors, it's not speaking to people. You're telling them, I'm a Snider, I'm from Laura, Nagaburi Snider, Bubu Kuku Yalandji. That's me saying my name, but I use my language, depending on where you're from, you use your language.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And that's actually a clear idea of what an acknowledgement is. I always felt like personally, recognizing the land and the water that you swim in, the land that you're walking on, the skies, the animals that live here, and just I feel like personally when I come to a place, it's just like asking for permission or letting the place know that I'm there as well. And I feel it's really important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Old people, talking to them, not to anyone here, or just letting them know you're safe passage through your country.
Yeah. So we are recording this talk, this yarn, and next to a creek side here in Emerald Creek. Is such an important place to me personally in Australia. Is one of my favorites, and that's why Nash, he's saying that he's doing the acknowledgement of this place because he's not from this place. But you were raised around here.
Yeah, I grew up in Kuranda, so a lot of our families were taken from country. So, like you said, I seen you up in Laura.
Yep.
We opened that ceremony this year and closed it, our family, and it was a really big journey for us because we were taken from that place, but we were brought here to Kuranda, a place called Mona Mona, and it's a mission. From there, they split us up, families, and they took kids away, and they sent them to a place called Palm Island, which is further south, and it's an island off the coast of Townsville. So they couldn't run back home, and they removed my eldest there. All my grandparents was born there in the 1920s, some of them in the 1910s, and then they was brought back to Mona Mona to work. So my father was brought up there, I was brought up going out to Mona Mona as a child and with all of our family on holidays. Grew up swimming in the river and fishing Coranda or so down the Barron River. But now that we've come back to there, we've just gone and made our journey back on country again, back up to Laura. So that journey has been a long one. We were once in that place, we were taken away, and now we've returned back on country. But we still live in this world, I come back home here, see my family.
So coming back to the idea that you guys were taken from that land, how long ago was that?
So it would be at least 100 years now since our family has taken on the responsibility and back on country again. Because my grandfathers and them were born in the 1920s down south. We're in 2020. And we forget that's 100 years ago. So when I say we were taken away and we're coming home, when we come back on country, we're still putting our sweat and speaking to them old people, letting them know that we're here. We use certain leaves on the tree to put on the fire, using our sweat on the leaves. It's telling them old people to come and put us back together with the smoking ceremony.
Tell me a bit more about Laura Festival. So probably this episode is going to be heard by a lot of Australians, but a lot of people from South America mainly too. And they're not really familiar with First Nations Aboriginal people of Australia. And they're not familiar also with the traditional values and culture and ceremonies. So do you want to tell us a bit more about Laura that we experienced last week?
Yeah, so Laura is a ceremony place. It's always been a ceremony place. It's a gathering place. It's kind of like our encyclopedia of Australia and the world. We documented all of our information on cave paintings. So when we go back home, there's a wealth of knowledge and stories and history, ancient history that goes back tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of years of age, documented in cave paintings and engraving, rock engravings. So we've always held ceremony there. It's always been a gathering place for trade. When there was certain ships or certain people that came to our country, messengers used to be sent from Laura into the Cape down south, and they would let people know that to come and gather for either war or for ceremony or for trade. And depending on who that person was, they would, if it was for war, they would burn the coastline. And that was a signal for everybody to gather. If they didn't burn the coastline and their messenger was set out, that person who came either came with trade and they left. You'll see some of the spirit figures in Quinkan country, Laura, with different dresses and different headdresses, and in some places where there's ships painted on caves, there's different ancestral beings that are painted with different with animals with different shaped heads. Some of them are old ancestors. Some of them we call them Quinkans, the old spirits that used to come and dance with us on the ceremony grounds when we do our initiations and our Bora sites. Still practice a lot in some places.
Are these the spirits that have been represented by paintings on the rocks that we visited?
Yeah, and there's spirits in the land. They look after the place. Some are mischievous, like they're naughty. They will torment you. They'll throw stuff at you when you're walking around. Some are good spirits. Make sure that you're protected and your kids are protected, and we call them Timura, Jaramali. The little fellas, we call them Imjin or Janjari, Biru. Yeah.
You said that there were 7 different languages around Laura, right? Or 7 different groups of people?
Yeah, so when we do our dance, coming home, we put 7 dots on our forehead.
Yep.
And that's to pay our respects to that country and the neighbouring clan groups that occupied that area and came in there for ceremonies when there wasn't big, when there wasn't a big messenger sent up into the Cape to come down. There was also groups that would come there during wet seasons or bad floods and stuff, and the 7 dots represent the different clans that occupied in the surrounding areas, came in and left. You've got the Kukutapan people, the Ukla people, Possum people, Kukuwara, Kuku Yamata, Kuku Yalandji.
That's where you're from?
I'm a Kuku Yalandji man, yeah.
Kuku Yalandji.
Yeah, and that's a big nation. Yeah. It's an area that goes from, it was one of the main language groups. So it's like it's a nation of one language. And them other nations I mentioned speak a different language. They have their own language.
How important is language for you guys? Because since I came to Australia 4 years ago, I was looking forward to connect with Aboriginal people, but I didn't want to be in a rush. I just want to let it happen. And I got to meet you and many other friends. But I always feel there's a message around that elders or cultural leaders are trying to pass on to the kids or the young ones their language or their traditional activities. How important is that? Do you feel that there's a danger of losing culture? Do you feel what's your feeling around that?
Again, when we talk about language and we talk about place and country and the journey that our people are doing to get back home, you got places like Mona Mona. On that place, you weren't allowed to speak language. If you got caught speaking language, you got punished. They put you into different prisons on the camp, or you got punished. Some other missions, like up in the Cape around Wudjil, the missionaries encouraged language. So Yalandji language up there was still spoken, and still spoken fluently. Places like Kuranda, there's some elders that were still born in the bush, and when the mission demolished and people started to come here, because the world come to Kuranda because of the rainforest and the beauty that it has here, and waterfalls and stuff. They started to document some of the old stories from these elders. So the language was then respected and acknowledged, and in the school growing up we got to learn the language, the Yirama language of Kuranda and Jabagai people, Bulwai people. So we grew up with elders coming into the school, and it became a little bit more, we were allowed to do it. But even though I grew up here, I learned all their stories. My language group was a bit further north. We was removed to Kuranda. We went from there, our family, the Sniders. So going back up to Laura, it's been a bit of a journey for me to learn the Yalandji language. And what I noticed is language is important. It is very important. So I also worked in a family centre in Cooktown. That's where I live now. I've got 5 daughters. Got to mention that part of it. And one of my daughters is a school teacher. She's not a school teacher. She's at university in Cairns, at JCU, wanted to do education so she could bring language into the school. In school in year 11 and 12, in the Indigenous Leaders Program that she was part of, leaded, she got a grant because she said how much important language was. She said, how come we don't have it in the school up here? So we had the parent P&C, I think it's called, parent come in, like it's a meeting, and we supported our kids, and we got elders come in. Cooktown is on the cups of Yalandji and Kuku Yalandji, two different language groups, so two different languages. So we had to get elders, and then they put it out. What she did is the principal said, you can have your lunch break. If you want to teach language in your lunch breaks and you get any students that want to learn, I'll give you this, you can do it during your lunch. And she had also, not only Bama kids, Aboriginal, there was Miglu, white kids, and all coming in there. She probably had about 30 kids in her lunch break. So the teacher had no choice to say, okay, maybe we should get a grant. And in the last year of her school, she was teaching Kuku Yalandji in the school with an elder. One of my aunties, Auntie Marilyn, came in. So, when you talk about the significance of it, schooling and education has a big part of it in Australia. So if it's not incorporated into that institution or into that system, then there's no space for young people to learn unless you get into that home. And you have elders that are speaking it to you all the time. And my elders, my dad spoke Yalandji to me when I was young, and always told me we came from Laura. So yeah, going back to Cooktown, and notice we have fluent speakers up there. So we're lucky.
Does your family have a clan or have a totem?
Yeah, so it's.
What's the difference between a clan and a family?
So you've got your clan group, which is kind of like your family group, yeah. So we're Kuku Yalandji, and then you have your nation, and that's probably more your clan, Kuku Yalandji nation, and then your tribe would be your clan group in there, like we're Kuku Yalandji. You have Walpra, you have Kuku Muriji, Kuku Puru, Kuku Puyanji, Kuku Pitiji, Kuku Nyungu. You have all these other Kuku nations that are around. There's about 56 different clans, groups, tribes of different family groups, and they have responsibilities to certain areas like a river, mountains, might be a boundary. Some of the little clan groups or tribes might be small, but they're part of a bigger language group. So my clan group is of the Laura area, my tribal area, is in that area, the Laura River coming back down towards the Palmer River.
And do you share a totem with them?
So our totem was kangaroo. That's what my elders have told us. Yeah, kangaroo. They say...
What is a totem?
So a totem is a representation. It can be a representation of a person. So my father's totem was a kangaroo too. So when I see a kangaroo jumping around in the bush, I might take a second to say, oh, how are you, Dad? He's passed away now. So his spirit is still with his totem. So a relationship with it is still a memory. So when you go to Laura country, a lot of cave paintings, there's thousands and thousands of cave paintings. You see a lot of people with painted up figures, and then you see next to them an animal, and that animal usually is painted up the same way as the spirit of the figure, and it's telling you that these people here are the dingo tribe, or they're the kangaroo tribe, or the emu tribe, or the crocodile tribe, Roga tribe, lion fox tribe, clan groups. So when you travel around into the Cape, people will tell you that they're from a certain tribe, but they identify with a totem of that tribe too. So the totem represents your not only your family group, but it can also represent some of your elders or your people. So my father passed away, like I give you an example of the emotion and the way that we sense that spirit or that totem when we related to it. When he passed away, my kids went to school in Cooktown, and they walked out the back of the school, and a kangaroo bounced out onto the field. It actually making me a little bit emotional thinking about it, but they my daughter went and started to cry, and the teachers came around and they didn't know what was going on for her. They got her in the class and they rang me and they said, "Nash, your daughter's at school, she's a bit upset. She's not telling us what's going on." And I said, "What happened?" She said, "Oh, a kangaroo jumped out in the field." And I said, "Oh, well, yeah, we just lost my father last week." So when she seen that kangaroo, it reminded her of her granddad, and she started to cry. So that's the relationship that we have with totems. If I were to put it into that context, so it makes it more real, you know? Yeah. And we also have our personal totem. I'm a goanna. Yeah. My father gave me a goanna.
Goanna.
I'm my granddad. It's an interesting topic, but brother, Mauri, I always thought totems came from your elders, your grandfather. That's how I was brought up, my dad. You're a goanna. I said, "What does that mean, Dad?" He said, "You can cross any river, climb any mountain, walk over every mountain, climb any tree. You can go wherever you want, son. You're a goanna." I said, "Thank you, Dad." And then I had children. And, you know, in any relationship, you have a partner who has opinion on what they think. And I lost my daughter's mother, 4 or 5 years ago. She was a beautiful person, very cultural, Aboriginal woman. She was a Guamu, Malanjali, Kajala, and they learnt they're also Kamilaroi people. And she lived time up here in my family. We were together 20 years before she passed away. And when I had my first daughter, she said, "She's a turtle." And I said, "No, she's not a turtle. My grandfather gives her that totem, not you. You're not the one that does that. No, she's a turtle, Nash." So when she was newborn, we took her through and we seen our grandmother in Kuranda. She was sitting down, we took her in to see Grandma, and Grandma, my daughter sort of popped its head up out of this little
shell.
And my grandma said, "She looks like a turtle." I looked at my partner and I said, "Nah, I don't want to believe it. You know, maybe flying fox, you know, 'cause the flying fox went home. I let it run, you know."
She knew.
I couldn't argue if it was a turtle. I said, "Well, I got to see Dad," and it never happened. We ended up down south for a little while. Next daughter came along. She's a crow. I'm going to name her after my grandmother, Ilgari. I said, "Well, I don't really like that totem. I was being a bit honest. You know, we was having our yards, bless her soul." And I said, "Maybe she's something else. Give me time to get my dad to give him a totem, you know." And the third one came along. I got 5 girls. And she said, "Oh, this is the time that I said, okay." And I had to drive to get some food. It was about 200 kilometres. We were living on her country, a station called Murra out near Cunnamulla way, between St. George, Cunnamulla. 200,000 acres, big property. And we managed it for a little while. Anyway, I'm driving to the shop and I said, "Give me a sign if she gives the chance to do a totem for our kids." I nearly ran over a turtle. I had to swerve around a turtle in the middle of nowhere, a desert country. And as I went around this turtle, I nearly hit a crow on the side of the road. It flew off. And I said, okay, my partner gets the ability to give the totems to the kids. So I got home. I didn't even argue. I didn't even question the next totem. And she gave the next one a goanna, Violet, after me, my daughter. So if you was to ask me about totems and how they were given to people, I would have told you one day that it was your grandfather. But going through a connection that, and I asked her, and I had to humble myself. And I asked her one day, I said, how did you pick these totems? She said, well, when we first was together, we go to the river and you would catch turtles and you'll cook it on the fire and we eat it, you know. When I was pregnant, you remember I caught a turtle? I said, yeah. And I said, you undid it and flicked it back into the water. We didn't take it home. I said, yeah, because it takes a lot. These turtles smell and we've got to carry them. Anyway, long story short, every single animal she came across was a story that she was able to connect to.
That's such a beautiful story. So you say you have 5 girls, and they were able to dance for the first time, you said, this time in Laura Festival.
Yeah.
How did that happen? How did it go?
So, first time for the girls, yeah. A lot of organising to get them to that stage. And not a lot of practice, to tell you the truth. But, our message of going to Laura was to open and close it, the ceremony. We're not part of the competition. So we were there to bring them old people up and let them know that we're here. So preparing to go there and getting the daughters to dance, my daughters to dance, and they had their elders there set up. We just lost a 96-year-old elder that was born on Palm Island and wanted to be buried back there. So we just buried her not too long ago. So we had to get all of the elders, the aunties, to come and stand up and dance with the girls for the first time. So there was a lot of healing in that, and the girls were doing it in memory of an elder that was from that country, but has been taken away. So them dancing back home was to say we're here now. Even for the ladies, they needed to have that grounding again. Not only the boys, we opened it the year before, just all the men, boy, and the males in our family. This time it was the women had to do that.
So I can feel that the women are having a great role as well, like your girls, teaching language, representing also in the dancing. And hopefully this podcast help people to have more awareness of what's going on with Indigenous people in Australia. I feel that Australians have an idea, but probably people from other parts of the world, from Argentina where I'm from, they have no clue. Like when I came to Australia, I thought that I just had this idea of Australia as a newish country. And I was so mistaken. People have been living here for thousands of years, like probably 45, 60,000 of years. And one of the things that most inspired me when we were having a swim in the river in Laura, that you said there's been many droughts and floods and rain, but this river always had water. There's always been people here, always had water.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for that, because that was really beautiful moment for me as well.
The water that's in that place is very ancient too. After the floods come through and wash away the rainwater in the catchment, then it stops flowing. The water that's sitting there is coming from all of the sandstones, and it's a table, so that water may be already, to get to that place, maybe thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. So when you're in there, you smell all the minerals that are coming from the country and the trees. So we go down there to wash our paint off. The girls, in our family, when we're home, we use ochre from country. We use the same ochres that they used to do the cave paintings. So when we're painting up and we're dancing, and our actual paint up comes from stories, we're representing our old people on the caves, but in our physical form.
What is ochre for someone that doesn't know? What is it?
It's a rock, and when you rub it with water and you put it on your body, it comes out very pasty, but when it dries, it dries red, and it dries white. If you paint yourself...
There's different types of ochre, because I think there's one white one and one...
There's red one, yellow, and there's a purpley one. Yeah. Ochre for some clans in Australia, and even our mob in Laura. There's some spiritual, and there's also some magic behind it. There's stuff in ochre that we use in our ancient practices that have been handed down to us that we don't necessarily talk about to a lot of people, but there's other reasons why we use our ochre too. Some places use it for love spells. So, they're the type of... some use it for puri, some use it for different things. When we use it for protection, and we use it to ground ourselves, and we use it to represent our old people that are painted in the caves, so that we become part of that story. As we get home and connect more, we'll be not only painting that in them ochre, but we'll also start to retell the stories that are documented. That's my hope for my next generation. The reason why I have that ability is it's my forefathers' land. The way that it explained to me is if you're an ironwood tree and you drop a seed from that tree, you grow the same tree. You can't grow a mango tree, a palm tree from that seed. Only the father has the ability to create seed inside him. But the mother gives creation and gives life. But the seed comes from the father, not the mother, only the father. And the father has the ability to have boy and girl. But it's only his son that recreates his seed, like the ironwood tree. And his son that recreates his seed, like that ironwood tree. So for me, I come from that ironwood tree to Laura. Seed, my forefathers. There's been no broken line. And we have sites there that go back 60,000 years of continuous history. 10,000 years ago, there was an ice age. People weren't living in parts of the world. Now people were still living there. Some places have been underwater for 20,000 years. And then they find a bit of evidence in archaeology. These people live here. Why they say we're the longest living culture in the world, it's because there's no places on this planet that can say they've lived in this place for 60,000 years, unbroken. Not 20,000 years of flood, and then 30,000 years of history, and then 5,000 years of flood, and then 2,000 years. Even in that whole period, I said, we were living in Laura, and the old people that are buried up in the caves, buried in that country, I'm still the seed of them forefathers. So when I go home, I speak to them. I am them. I'm still them. I'm their seed. I'm still that ironwood tree when I go home. So are my daughters. They're my seed. But I have girls, so no boys.
That's interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm really grateful, and I'm speaking on behalf of the team as well. We are really grateful to be here, to have this opportunity to interview you and to hear these stories and to walk on this land. Because I personally wasn't born here. I was born in South America, but as you said, there's not many places that have cultures alive that haven't, I like the way you say that, have been unbroken for so many years. So I feel there's so much to learn. I always felt that when I was wanting to come to Australia, and I felt this was a healing journey through nature in Australia, and I'm documenting it. I'm a filmmaker, and I had a lot of thoughts of why Australia, why not doing in South America, which I had the chance to travel around before coming here. But then after a few years and after connecting with this land and this majestic space, was that I understand now that I came to remember. So I had something that I wanted to learn that I already knew, but I needed to remember. And I also feel this duty now to share this message. Like I feel like a channel to share it, and so we can protect it, we can learn, and we can protect the spaces that we are living on, and also help South America recover as well and regenerate. Because most of the indigenous cultures in South America, or specifically in Argentina, have been wiped out. If you go to Peru or Bolivia or Ecuador or in the Amazon or Mexico, they're still alive. But because if you go the Andes, they're really high in the sky. They're 3,000 meters up in the sky. So when the Spanish conquerors came around 500 years ago, it was a little bit difficult to them to get up high. They were struggling so much. But Argentina has the Andes, and then it was really flat. So, and they made this, they call it the desert campaign. And they made this desert campaign, and they just went from north to south and just killing people. That was the way of doing it. But my following question is, how do you feel, or what do you feel it's the First Nations people of Australia role right now in Australia and worldwide? Because I know there's a lot of things going on with the boys coming up in Australia, which is a referendum, I guess. Yeah. But how do you feel about that, or what can you tell us about that? Like as people.
Well, thank you for sharing your story there, Mauri, about your country and some of the struggles in your history and I guess the history that you do have and the cultures you have, and the struggle it is to connect again, and yeah, I guess in Australia, our people have always been here. Yes, we've been removed. Now we're coming home, and we are here to stay. And part of that journey is about sharing. Some of the injustices, like what's happened in Australia, the truth. So it's up to you to care. If you care about that story, then there's a genuine respect there. But there's also acknowledgement. Thank you for sharing, brother. I care about what happened in your country. I care about what you're doing here, trying to create another understanding for you and your people. Try to help people through having these conversations. And I respect that. Share, care, respect. In Australia, at the moment, with this Yes campaign, The Voice, the government has pretty much said, we don't care about you. We're going to do this to you because we want to control this place. It's about power. They make laws, legislations, and they're only enacted on our people. They call it the race relations. They can do it on any race they want that come to Australia, but they only do it on Aboriginal people. So The Voice is about saying, well, wait a minute, if you're going to make a policy about what affects me up in my community, it doesn't affect you or anybody else that comes to this place, I want to be able to have a say in it. Because up until now, you've had all the say and you've got it wrong. You haven't respected us, you haven't cared about us. You haven't even let us share and connect back on our country again. It's come to a point where we're doing it because we want to. We're having these connections again because we need to heal. And during that journey, we're starting to share that story. So the voice, and it's like getting the license. What comes first, your car or your license? License, you got to be legal. I think I might have. So in order to pick a car you want to drive and where you want to drive it, you need to have a license to drive it. So that's what the yes is about. The referendum is about saying we need to set up a legal binding voice in Parliament. What car or what community, some communities live in the bush, they might need four-wheel drives. Some people live in the city, they like flash cars. They want Audis. And some people who've got a lot of money want a Ferrari. But you still need a license to pick what car you want to drive. So the referendum is about actually getting the license first, then working with the people in the communities of remote, urban, say what car do you want to drive? And then that car, what they pick, there's several cars in the community. Some people might, you need a four-wheel drive to get that community, but they drive a little Commodore, and they get a bog and they learn all these, actually I need to upgrade and get a decent car to cross this bridge. So there's a lot of decisions and a lot of investments into wrong decisions, but at least we get to pick the car we want to drive. That's what this voice is about, because up until now we don't get to have a say on anything. That's why the referendum and the yes. And we may pick the wrong car, but that's okay. We'll learn soon that we're not going to be able to cross that river because you need a clearance to get across it. So we're going to make mistakes, but it's an important part of Australia's history now to start making, giving us the opportunity to drive and pick and how we want to run. Because every community is different, brother. Everyone has their own struggles. Yeah. Some more so than others. But in the context of this referendum and the voice, it's important part now for our people to start supporting us as well.
This interview was recorded in July 2023, before the Australian Indigenous Voice referendum took place in Australia in October that same year. People in Australia were asked if they wanted to change the constitution in order to create a body called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice that would have been able to make representations to federal parliament and executive government on matters relating to Aboriginal people. The proposal was rejected nationally by a majority in every state, except the Australian Capital Territory.
One of the big things that, we've had to do in our own country is go against our own people too. Like, we've just got national heritage in Laura. I mentioned this to you, I think, a little while ago.
Yeah, you want to share a bit of that story with the mines?
Yeah. So, where the voice can be, like Cape York is probably pitched out for mining. We have a lot of cultural sites in the Cape York. None more significant than others. But Laura is just visual. I can see the cave paintings. I can see these ancestors. Who are these Quinkans? What are all these totems? I can see them. There's stories and children books written about them in Australia. Our own people wanted to mine it. We had Gina Reinhard, then we had another miner, and we fought against them. I was the chairperson of the Laura body for 5 years, and I went against our own mob. We separated. We said, if you come here, you're going to have to fight us and our family. And we lobbied the government to reject the mine. We don't want it here, state government. And they rejected it. And they granted that place as a national heritage site. Only site in the Cape York recognised for its cultural values. There's no other place. A lot of sacred sites in the Cape, a lot of sacred rivers, a lot of places our people was born. Cultural significance to the Mother Nature, to the animals, them totems. We needed to protect it. But the next part of that journey comes into places like this where we have social media and we get to sit down and yarn about what's significant. We want World Heritage. UNESCO has already identified Laura as one of the top 10 places in the world for its cultural values, for its significance to the world. Our recent artwork in Laura, Quinkan country, 4,000 years old, 5,000 years old. They were building pyramids at that time.
That's the most recent artwork,
Recent stuff. So when you talk about ancient, you talk about lineage, my lineage. When you talk about sacred, our culture is evolving, but we're still doing it. It was in Laura. Our family have been away, we're home. We're painting again. We're in ochre. Putting dots on there to say that we're alive. That represents the stars. Red ochre represents the earth. The 7 dots, the 7 clans. We're home. We need to protect this place. Sacred.
Hopefully this helps to get the cultural sites of Laura and all of Australia protected, and we hope we can help to make that World Heritage happen. So for the people that is listening, if you want to check out more about Laura Festival or about information about this space, this place, just jump on the website. It's ysdm.au and you'll be able to check all the information over there. And we get into the final part of this interview, Nash. So this is called Environment Art Stories, and we usually commit together to an action with our speakers that can give back to earth, give back to country, or give back to La Pacha, like we say in South America. So
Bubu.
In this case, we did the interview first. We came visit you to Laura, but I want to open here the action for this episode, and let's see if we can come back next year to Laura, and I would love to get some crew there and people that want to help or volunteer, and maybe we can do an environmental action there. We can just plant some trees or help in any way that the community can help. How do you feel that the community needs help now? What do you think would be a good thing to do?
Thank you, brother, and 100% look forward to you and any volunteers that come. And when that time comes, like we know, it's no good to set a plan, because sometimes what transpires, and what happens on the day is meant to be, Yeah. And at that time, when we have volunteers, it may be planting a tree, but it could also mean coming on a journey with us and figuring out, learning about how we do connect in the Cape York, and how do we do that is through relationships of people, and You know, one of the dances my auntie's talking about, she said that she wants to do stolen generation dance, about how we were taken away, or how we lived on our land, how we were taken away, how we came back. But in that journey of coming back, we want to invite people to be a part of that healing and part of this generation to enjoy and respect care about our people. And it's in that relationship space that we look forward to seeing people there supporting us too and being a part of the ceremony. We got everybody up to dance with us last time. That was the closing ceremony. There was about 200-300, maybe more, 500 people in the middle of the dance ground dancing and keeping the beat.
That was beautiful. That was actually the moment that I say hi to you after the whole festival. He was really busy. So I couldn't say hi to him. I was really busy. But then he invited people to dance in the arena, and then I just came in and I felt just go and say hi to you and give you a hug, and that was really beautiful.
And we're here now.
We're here now. Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, cheers.
Muchas gracias. Yalada.
Yalada. How do you say it?
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Yeah,
That's
that's in Spanish.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
This is it. This is the last episode of the first season of Environment Art Stories. If you would like to support us and help us tell more stories, help us create and produce more episodes, you can jump on the website ysdm.au. We actually have 6 more episodes to come, but we need the funds to produce them. So, season 2 is totally up to you. Thanks for listening. We love you. Environment Art Stories is a Yo Soy del Mundo production, written, produced, and directed by me, Mauri Badra. The sound is edited and mixed by Yves Bongianni. The main music is created by Hamza Mas. Graphic design is by Maddie Arnold, who you can also hear at the beginning of the episode. Maddie Arnold was the production assistant, Andrew Bishop was on sound operation, and special thanks to Lolo Alegria, Pacific Music, and Diego Portilla.
To check out the action videos, jump on our website ysdm.au. Please keep in mind that this podcast documentary series is an independent project with no private or public grants or funding. Your support counts, so please follow the podcast on your chosen listening platform and visit ysdm.au to subscribe or donate. Donations are much appreciated as the funds collected are used to produce future episodes. With your help, we can tell more stories.